Hey, it's me. Ubi told me, the guys with the five eyes that you see. And first off, all thanks to the Most High, and welcome to my channel. Seeing how my last video is officially the second most watched video on this channel, I am officially pivoting towards gaming content. Half of that is because I want an excuse to play games for 5 hours straight like I did in my childhood, and the other half is because I thank everyone for their comments and opinions, and the critics too, because I'm still an amateur at this, so it's important I have viewers who challenge the things I say and show on my media to make sure I'm being as accurate as possible and not CNNing my way through my YouTube career.
And I started thinking to myself, man, what did he do to make them niggas that mad?
If we're being real too, you know, a lot of times you have an opinion about something, an opinion changes, and a lot of times these companies that we like to criticize and we love and everything, they release things and say they'll do this and say they'll do that and everything. So everything's subject to change and everyone has an opinion, but as long as we keep it all cordial and we're just trying to help each other get better, that's all that matters. And also shouts out to AA, is that Funi? Fun One Nini? Whatever your name is, for suggesting that I pivot towards this kind of content, because, you know, I kind of made that video off a one-off chance. So a lot of the attention I got there, I wasn't really expecting that much. I was hoping for 100 views, but almost 2,000, I guess I'm on to something. But that's how gaming is on YouTube. That being said, today I wanted to discuss the ever-growing problem of the increasing layoffs going on in the gaming industry right now and how that would inevitably impact our own gaming experiences as well. So in doing my research, my much more improved research for this video, I looked over on Games Radar for some articles to bring me up to speed on the happenings, and it's pretty worrisome. First off, if you just type layoff in the search box and looked at the results, there is news pretty much weekly of a variety of developers and publishers laying off hundreds to thousands of people, sometimes in ongoing waves like at CD Projekt Red, for example. Interesting enough, a lot of these studios like Bungie and Activision and BioWare have had a history of successful projects and a good amount of capital, especially with the other parent companies they're associated with, and yet it's not really enough to save the jobs of these people. We have here in this article from Final Fantasy 16 actor Ben Starr, which, by the way, if this guy was my son, I would literally just put A as his middle name on his birth certificate because, I mean, come on. Ultimate dad joke right there. He states, honestly, are we going to get serious? It's not a great year for video games insofar as all the layoffs. It's not great for that, and that needs to be spoken about in an event like this. Maybe there's something missing because a lot of people who made those games are no longer working at those companies, and I think that has to be respected. That's a key thing we're going to talk about later. Maybe there is something missing because a lot of times what happens when we have a lot of layoffs, these companies, it changes the core culture of the studios, and it frankly changes how these games get created going on post these layoffs. Another actor of Deus Ex and Starfield claimed, Elias, his last name sounds really French, so I'm guessing it's Touffe. It looks like some shit off of Kingdom Hearts. If I pronounced that correctly, has had 2 projects canceled and one effectively restarted from scratch, which has led to him claiming that the industry is a quote-unquote disaster zone right now. I personally agree with these guys and need to stress how these layoffs are happening at a very crucial time in the world right now. As I currently speak, our economy is undergoing a swift downturn with out of control money printing and runaway inflation. We've just barely gotten shipping logistics and shipping chain issues fixed for the most part. Homelessness is increasing. Houses and apartments are still overly expensive and are not worth the value they have posted, to the point I quite honestly feel like this is some kind of fraud. These passionate people, because trust me, you're going to need a lot of passion to work for the majority of these gaming studios.
Look at you. Nobody want you but me. You ain't shit without me. You without me equals shit. You understand that, you ugly fat bitch? Now let me borrow your car.
Are losing their jobs at a time where the people in charge of our country have effectively committed treason, in my opinion, and led our lives to become incredibly expensive and even for some people just downright impossible. These people have bills to take care of, debts to pay, and mouths to feed. Consider this as well. And many of these companies are committing layoffs at the same time. That also restricts people's ability to move on to other companies to continue their work, which is one of the benefits having multiple corporations which have a sizable skilled workforce. Realistically, there should be room in the industry that seems to break record profits year after year. Something else that caught my attention as well is the Federal Trade Commission's beef with Microsoft running the freaking lawnmower on the Activision Blizzard employees, filing a letter with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals stating Microsoft claimed that Blizzard would largely be left to its own devices after its acquisitions. Basically, the FTC is trying to hold Microsoft accountable for the layoffs because Microsoft made it apparent that once they acquired Blizzard was going to be left to its own devices. Whatever Blizzard does was going to be them. They weren't going to really be doing any heavy lifting. It's just Blizzard, do what you do, make us some more billions, and we won't take your families. If I remember correctly, the FTC tried its best to block Microsoft's acquisitions of the studio last year. What makes this situation even worse is that due to Microsoft firing over 1,900 people, the FTC has stated that they would struggle in getting aid to these people because I guess for their systems or what have you not, it's too many people for them to actively provide effective aid all at once. Probably a variety of different things. Some people have to move here and change addresses and there's a lot of stuff that I probably don't understand. But anyways, you would think that Bill's baby would try to help Activision recover and improve after the horror show that is Bobby Kotick. If at least for PR purposes, that would improve Soft's reputation, restructuring the company and providing a safe future for people to work on the games so many of you love. But I guess I'm too empathetic for showbiz. But to be fair to Microsoft, they claim that Activision had already planned to lay those people off before the merger happened. So unfortunately, one way or another, those people were being let go. And that's Microsoft's essential retort to the FCC. They're just like, well, they were going to do it anyway, so we might as well have done it ourselves. What gets me is that it seems like fiat money is just truly worthless in the end, whether it's in this space or the tech space, outer space, liminal space, and the like. No amount of billions of dollars and trillion-dollar valuation can provide a semblance of job security. Some of these companies could practically buy entire countries if that was legal, which I guess behind closed doors it is. But for some reason, they feel like they can't maintain their workforce. And I know a lot of people point towards the Coco pandemic with the drastic increase of hiring for these companies as a setup for the inevitable, which is realistically partly a reason, but I'm going to just call it how I see it. I think the majority of these companies are greedy and obsessed with doing more with less. Now, before I drone out my final point, I need to emphasize majority because there are many other studios that simply don't have the kind of revenue needed with keeping up the cost of development, especially now all the inflation going on. Kind of like the studio that did the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro games. That's a very small studio. They had to go through some recent layoffs. They laid off like 82 people, but they're still pushing. But that studio is not some big major conglomerate, so they're really just doing everything they can to just get along. That's just how deep this thing is going right now. But for this Microsoft's, Ubisoft's, Epic's, and the like, they make so much money that their profit margins are high enough to give almost everyone working in their offices raises if they wanted to. There are a lot of companies out there, especially in the tech space, where they've shown the kind of profits that they have. Some companies can literally give everybody a $10,000 raise and it'd be like thousands of people. So it's really interesting. But that's just a side note. A lot of games they produce now have budgets that are routinely hitting $100-200 million. Pretty soon we're gonna have $500 million games. With Grand Theft Auto 6, I think they say it's cost them like over $1 billion in total. We're getting to that point at this. Things are getting so big, it's ridiculous. Talk about inflation. And sometimes most of that budget is spent on marketing alone. Yet somehow we get repetitive gameplay loops and bugs that require several patches and battle passes that promise you the game you were supposed to have the year before. It makes you wonder just exactly where all those billions of dollars are going to.
I don't think I could keep supporting us off my Wendy's check.
Oh, here we go. What you trying to say, Leonard? Huh? How long did I carry you, nigga? How long did I pay the bills in this motherfucker that you living in? See how niggas forget? You see? You see how niggas forget?
But if you've seen the previous videos on this channel before the switch, you would know the industry pays itself. Politicians and shell companies are just a small piece of the pie. Microsoft is a $1 trillion company. They shouldn't, in my opinion, need to fire anyone for bottom lines, but them firing people actually help increase their value to over $3 trillion. And I know less workers means more money, means happy shareholders who make more money to convince all of us that we're a good few stocks away from a lifetime of career geriatric gambling. But I've long come to the conclusion that companies being beholden to shareholders is not the most viable way to operate, because the way it's been going this past, basically century is that demands infinite growth all the time, which is frankly not natural. Inconsistencies make life exciting and humble you and keep you on the straight and narrow. And you have to understand that the lows can just be as pivotal as the highs. Having a year be considered a failure because the millions of dollars in profit not having as many millions as the previous year is just honestly demonic, and nobody with a soul really feels that way. That's what I mean by infinite growth. You'll have $1 million one year profit, and then you have $800,000 the next year in profit. To shareholders, we basically lost $200,000. They don't think of it as, you made another $800,000. It's like, no, you lost $200,000. So as we near the end of this piece, I must bring to your attention what these layoffs are going to mean for you. I'd like to remind you that when these games are made, there are whole communities that pour their blood, sweat, and tears into these projects. Most of our favorite games took years to create between groups of people that can number from the tens to hundreds to thousands. These people sometimes get married and start families in development, create their own separate companies, become public figures off their success, sleep off the office and run errands overnight for each other, and sometimes pass away before development finishes, leaving empty chairs they pass every day, reminding them of whom they've lost. When these communities get broken up, it would inevitably change the whole vibration of the creation process. There can often be times where important designers and engineers, for example, get laid off and make it even harder on the ones left to develop, which leads to crunch and burnout. Motivation changes drastically, moods can become worse, and leadership can simply falter. This will has resulted in unfinished games, uninspired games, and just the overall lot of mid from these companies with the resources to make a tech city the size of Ghana. The kind of finished products we used to get in the past with unlockables all included, various secrets defined, themes and innovations to make us feel like kids, no matter how old we are when we play them, have been declining substantially amongst the AAA market. Haven't you noticed more and more of the extreme criticisms of some of the biggest games to release over the past few years? Fallout 76, Starfield, Cyberpunk 2077, although they improved, but again, you kind of should just have the game good straight out the gate. Anthem, almost everything EA touches and thinks of, and most recently, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. These are supposed to be the kind of games pushing boundaries and imaginations to heights that take advantage of the technology and heavy labor put into them, and yet when they come out, they're usually half-baked titles with good graphics and 60 frames per second. With games trending more and more towards $70, people are going to find it harder and harder to fanboy their pockets open. I mentioned the economy before, and I'd like to ask you, have you been more price conscious than you have been before in the past? That meat at the grocery market going up $4 can literally change the spending habits of whole households. I know from myself personally, I rely on emulation and games I bought years ago now because my financial obligations have gotten stricter as this economic system continues to implode on itself. Not to mention, the trend of live service is still continuing, and I think the reliance on microtransaction is going to wear the industry thin. Few live service games are viable, and usually being free to play helps with that. But paying $70 for a game and then having other content, which should, for the most part, be included, locked behind a paywall that tries to shine it in front of you like a mouse on a stick to a cat, is not going to cut it when the bills are doing the same thing. Property taxes are BS. I think we will see a pullback on spending in AAA titles, and unfortunately, that's probably going to mean even more layoffs will be coming. In a way, we are all going to suffer one way or another. Products presented just won't be convincing enough to buy for the majority of us with sizable responsibility. On a more positive note, I do hope this provides more of a possibility for the small cap gaming market. And I say that instead of indie market because I don't think people should just label themselves independent just because their company, group, or self, what have you, isn't the size of a big company. It's almost like the industry's way of separating itself from anyone not on a payroll. Because in theory, aren't they just just as independent as you. You know, if anything, they're a bit more independent, because if a lot of these bigger companies like Microsoft, they got so much capital, they could do almost anything they want. They could fail as many times as they want. But that's just me. But I'm looking forward to smaller cap companies, because their low overheads and costs lead to games that are cheaper overall and have done with enough smarts and provide great gameplay can be just as fun and even better than a game that just simply has 10 times the budget. As more people get laid off, some people are going to take destiny into their own hands and form their own studios amongst each other in a bid to continue the work they love to do. Not to mention that's considerably easier and less expensive to make games now with small overhead than the past. So I expect the volume of games to, continue to increase or stay consistent if a lot of them are being released. Value proposition will present itself to be very competitive. I discussed Power World in my last video to the best of my ability.
Nigga, you just hate them, feel me? That's why you ain't never gonna have no paper, ain't never gonna have no bitches, feel me?
That game gives you the Pokemon experience, but a more modern take for $30. It was made by a handful of people. My Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are still being sold at $60 each in regular retail, with the DLC being $35. And I'm gonna just say it now, DLC looks kind of mid, because the legendaries on that, I mean, just look at them. It's not too much I can say. It's just the designs just do not feel legendary. They don't have to be super spectacular, because can we just get something like the Bird Trio or the Doggo Trio? There's something kind of along the lines of Latias, like something. I don't know. I get it's a cultural thing, but they just don't feel too inspiring to me. But if you're on a budget and it's little Jamiroquai's birthday in a week, I'd probably behoove you to get Power World. Set the industry's brand hypnosis to the side, and you'd realize which game is going to stretch your money the longest and give you the most bang for your buck between those two. I plan to get a Steam account in the future, and my goal with this channel is to get monetized so that I can support smaller developers buying their games and giving them exposure, and also giving you guys more media to watch, thus creating like a triforce of support and positivity and overall just general happiness, because I want to practice what I preach. I don't want to talk this kind of stuff and then not do what I can't help.
Hey, no.
The older I've gotten and the experience the immense failures of a lot of these AAA studios in the market, the more I start to realize that a good game is a good game, no matter who makes it. If it looks, sounds, and plays well, then its source of studio really only matters so far as how talented they are to make the next. So that's it for my second video. Hopefully I made more sense than the last time. It was more accurate with my assessments. I know in here now I've actually got, some articles, some citations, and, I'm still trying to put things together, but I think, but the way the economy is and all that, I think that functions out a bit better than the last video, which I was just kind of just talking out of my ass. I'm looking forward to your comments. Though, any criticisms you may have, I hope you don't catch the case of Twitter fingers and type something passive aggressive you wouldn't say to another grown man in person. I really do have these peoples in my prayers, and I hope Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, HaKadosh keeps them strong during these hard times. The way the world is going, a lot of us are going through it too, so I'm praying for you guys as well. Keep your mind strong and pockets sharp. There will be much gnashing of teeth in these coming years, and it will be important to make disciplined decisions and quick learning of mistakes. Hope you guys have a good day. See ya.